What is up, everyone? And welcome back to the Ratchet Motors YouTube channel. So we're getting back into the Super Beetle on this one. It is spring. I want to get this out. I'm really hoping to get it to a drag strip or some type of autocross or something. I want to get this car racing this spring. And there's a couple things I want to do, more or less like tune-up items before I get it out on the road. So I know the O2 sensor failed last time I was trying to drive the car in and out. It's not a huge deal because it does have a map that doesn't run off the oxygen sensor. But I do want to replace that O2 sensor because really the tune has never really been cleaned up. It's never been finalized, so I need to get that O2 sensor replaced. I also never really tucked up my coolant hoses when I reran them after moving to Missouri. I had that little puncture. I can put the last bug video up here. But essentially I'm probably gonna 3D print a couple brackets to get the coolant lines that run front to back up and off of the ground. They're kind of hanging loosely now. And then I'm gonna do just some regular old-fashioned tune-up items. So I'm gonna check the spark plugs, probably gonna do a quick oil change, and then I'm gonna take it out. Now, I got a Draggy a couple months ago, have not had a chance to use it with the bug yet, but we're gonna do that in this video. So after all the tune-ups, after all the kind of little fixing items here, I'm actually gonna pull out the seat. I already started removing the rear seat. I also gotta remove my little dog box or bulkhead there so I can get to the O2 sensor. We're gonna get it basically into race condition here. Get the rear seats out, kind of get it as light as possible, and then get everything tuned up and ready to go. So we'll start with the O2 sensor. Then I'll show you the brackets I'm gonna print for my AN lines. I have 16 AN coolant lines. I'll also add in the, I think it's 8 AN fuel lines, and try to get them all kind of nice and neat and organized from front to back there.
All right, I'll put some links to some previous videos up above, but this is basically the bulkhead I'm referring to here. So when I installed that Subaru motor, I added in, like I should say, I cut out some metal and then added in this bulkhead just to make it a little bit easier for me to get to things like the exhaust, the turbo, different sensors, the intercooler there. So I just pulled the back seat out. You can see my wiring is a complete mess. That's on the to-do list. I think I'm going to try to change over to a PDM, like ECU Masters or something along those lines. Let me know if you have any suggestions because I really, really want to clean up the wiring all together here and simplify. But long story short, this is the bulkhead. I'm going to remove that so I can get to my O2 sensor, which is in my, basically the turbo back part of my exhaust.
All right, so I know it's a little dark, it's a little hard to see in here, but this is what I was referring to as basically my dog box, the engine cover. I already took all the bolts out. I built this a long time ago. I can put the link up in the description, but basically, take this out. You can see I've used like the, what is it, the Coolant from Thermotech. I have a lot of little Thermotech things for heat management. I take this out, and now you can see it's intercooler, which doesn't get a ton of airflow. This is also where my exhaust is, so this is how I can actually access my O2 sensor that I'm going to replace real quick. So I'll get this out of the way and get that O2 sensor swapped out. So here's a little bit better view from the inside. So again, just get this all wrapped with that Thermotech. Here's my intercooler here. You can see I have my actual air temp sensor, the back side of like my air oil separator, fuel filter, those coolant lines I just replaced, which I'm going to actually now add a little bit organizer at the bottom. But what I'm looking for here is my turbo back. So see, here's my turbo, which is pretty rusty, unfortunately. Looks like the center cartridge is pretty rusty there. Might upgrade that one day soon. But here's my exhaust. So again, I'll put the link up. This is the exhaust I made myself. There's the O2 sensor I need to replace. Shouldn't be that hard to get to from here. I just need to disconnect it from the inside, take the old one out, put the new one in.
All right, here we have the old sensor compared to the new one. I wouldn't say this is definitely the culprit, but I'm hoping this is going to resolve my problem. And if you didn't see my last video, basically what's been happening is O2 just hasn't been reading. It's just been fixed at one number on the gauge, a different number on the basically on the software, but neither one of them is actually moving with any changes. So I'm hoping my O2 sensor just needs to be replaced. It is pretty sooty, and it has been the same one since original, so that would have been probably almost 5 years now. So, and a lot of tuning experimentation. So I'm going to change that real quick and then get on to mounting the coolant lines and the fuel lines a little bit better underneath the car.
All right, so we're back at the home office here, which is just inside from the garage. This is my new one since we moved into Missouri. It's a little bit small, a little bit tighter. Just finished a print. This is just a test print. It actually came out a lot better than I expected. And this is what I'm gonna, or a variation of this is what I'm gonna use to hopefully hold the coolant lines and the fuel lines up off the ground. I never really had a final plan for that because I had kind of wanted to do hard lines. Wow, it popped off really easy. But here we are. So I think I'm going to use something like this. You see, I just printed out, and my two coolant lines will be in the center. My two fuel lines will be external. I could always kind of switch around the orientation. That doesn't really matter. And they should hold them up from the bottom of the car or against the bottom of the car. Now, what I don't have in this, because it's just a test print, is I haven't added in the hole yet for where I'll put basically like a sheet metal self-tapping screw up to the middle. But I'm going to go, it's going to be kind of hard to film, but I'm going to go into the car, just test that this works. Once I do have a final orientation, I'll show you guys what that looks like, and I'll show you what it looks like under the car. Right now, it's just a little bit of prototyping, making sure it gets everything up, fits in pretty good. I might even be able to shave a little bit off for height, because I can always tuck these down. I'm really just trying to make sure I have enough clearance for the coolant lines. And thinking about it, I might keep them separate and put the fuel lines in the middle just to kind of keep the stuff coming from the radiator versus what's going to the radiator as separated as possible. So I do want to do them all in one piece, but I might just put the coolant lines on the outside. All right, so I'll give it a test, and I'll let you guys know what the final orientation looks like.
So this is more or less the final iteration here. We see the two outer lines are for the fuel, or the outer openings. The two inner openings are for my radiator or my coolant lines. And we have a nice little recessed counterbore hole there. Just gonna use a sheet metal screw. I have 3 of these. I'm gonna attach to the bottom of the car. Like I said, it's a little hard to film under there. So I'm just gonna show what they look like final installed. I hope this is gonna work as I expect. Not too much clearance, so this shouldn't hang much lower than just how the hoses are on their own. So I'm hoping this is gonna be the best kind of fix for keeping those lines from dragging, catching things, so on and so forth. All right, so this is the finished product more or less. If you look really closely, there's my finger. You can see one of the connectors is right there, one of my little mounts. And you can see I have another one right here. And then I'll probably use like a zip tie just to pull up some of that slack, but that's really all I need to do. Toughest thing is just getting under here and getting the job done. 34th birthday just passed last week, and I am definitely feeling it more and more as I try to slide into these cars. Hopefully getting a lift in the near future, but not at this rental. So anyways, got the lines up. The last thing I'm gonna do while I got the car in the air is I'm gonna do a oil change. And then from there, I think we're ready to take it back out on the road and really start to push it. So a little update for where we're at. So off camera, I just did a quick oil change. I just used the OEM Subaru filter, did 5 quarts of 5W20, 5W30, whatever it calls for. So we're pretty much done with all of our little tune-up stuff. So again, coolant lines, fuel line tucked away. I just want to cover a couple things that are pretty common questions for the channel before we actually fire back up with that fresh oil. One question we get a lot is, where is the radiator? And so got this on a gimbal a little bit here, so bear with me. But the radiator, right up here, up front, it is out of a Volkswagen Scirocco, whatever you might call it. It's like the 80s. And basically all I did was I TIG welded on AN fittings. So it's 16 AN for both the in and the out. And then I just made my own little shroud for the fans to mount to. I also have a bigger shroud that kind of goes over everything to hide it away, kind of make a full trunk panel. That question comes up a lot. In this front radiator, I also have like an overflow tank. It's really just here so I can burp the system. I have one in the front and the rear. But get that question all the time. I also have the battery mounted up front here.
And that was just for weight distribution more than anything. I don't even have the rear seat in anymore, but that's just to make sure that a little more weight up front because it is pretty rear heavy. And then I also have a fuel cell here. Eventually I'm gonna put the Volkswagen fuel tank in again, I think, because it'll be larger, fit a little bit better. But for right now it's an aftermarket fuel cell that feeds into a 255 liter per hour Wahlberg pump. So a couple common questions about what's going on up front here. Also cover what's in the back once we open up the garage and get it ready to run. And then what we have here is a EJ255, EJ251 hybrid. So EJ255 short block, so our turbo short block out of a WRX, out of a Forester XT, and then the heads are out of a naturally aspirated 2.5, so an EJ251, like out of an Impreza. So pretty standard otherwise as far as Subarus go. We do have this nice little bracket from Outfront Motorsports, which means we just have that alternator bracket. I got to replace the belt here. It's a little squeaky. Often what transmission I'm using, it's the standard Type 1, nothing fancy there at all, and it's probably going to blow one day. Using a Kennedy engine adapters plate. We have the stock STI intercooler, not really doing too great of a job there. This is the other one, how do I feed the oil? I actually took an original oil filler neck, cut it and JB welded it at an angle. So now I can fill it and my engine cover closes like normal. I have quick release pins because I'm always taking that cover on and off rather than having it bolted in. I just have these quick release pins. Other than that, that's about it. We're going to fire it up. Just after the oil change, there's no leaks underneath. So that's the first good sign there. We'll just take it from there. So here we go. All right, so for the last like half hour or so, I struggled with tune. This seems to happen every time. I never got the tune down great. This is a Mega Squirt MS3 Pro for the computer, Pro Evo, and I'm no tuner by any means, so every time I start it up after a little while, there's always like a little fiddling I have to do. I think the fiddling's done, so we're gonna start it up now. Hopefully it's gonna start up right away. It's still decently warm, but it's not hot by any means, so it'll kind of be a cold start. I also tightened up the alternator. I need to get a new belt because this belt just always, I think it got a little stretched over time here, and it's just still squeaking a little bit. I can't get it tight enough to where I like it, so I think I'm gonna look for a slightly shorter belt here because this always seems to squeak as well. Well, go ahead, let's fire it off. All right, so this is where we're at with things. I ended up taking the alternator belt off because it's squealing really loud. I'm gonna clean up the pulleys, and I got the original same size, and I got one that was like a ½ inch shorter because I'm at the full adjustment, and it's probably because the belt's stretched over like the 4 years or so I had it, but also definitely got coolant on it at a different time. So the idea is I'm gonna try a shorter belt, so maybe it's a little bit lower on the adjustment. So as it stretches, I have more room to keep it in adjustment, and also clean up all the pulleys and everything just to make sure that it's not slipping. It does look like the pulley has a little wear on it, like the belt might have slipped, caused some friction, and wore off some of the paint. So again, I'm gonna just clean everything up, new pulleys on, or new belts on, and then hopefully the squealing will go away. Also, the tune, I cannot figure out why I can't get the car to run as well as I did like last year. So I'm literally, I'm gonna go back to the tune basically from last year. I don't know if it's because I changed, I honestly couldn't even tell you. I think at one point, because the air to fuel, or the AFR, the O2 sensor failed. I didn't realize it, and maybe I adjusted some of the fuel map, and that's what's got me out of whack. I get kind of excited, so maybe I changed too many things at once. I'm just gonna go back to a tune I had last summer because I really want to get this out and drive. I have the draggy. I want to start getting some data to see how fast it is. I want to get it to a track, but we need it running reliably. And I just want to be able to take it out to like downtown and get like ice cream. So get it running reliably, and we can actually get some footage of it out on the road, which I really want. And it also allows me to get back working on the truck.
All right, well, I think, well, all right, well, I think the belt's fixed. I just have a low battery here.
All right, so unfortunately, that's all we have for this video. I was hoping to take the bug out, do some rips in it. I got the draggy, try to get some times, but unfortunately, my wife and I are moving to a new rental home in like 10 days, and I need to get the truck running. It's really not an option to tow it over there. The driveway's on a hill and whatnot, and honestly, just been really dragging my feet on this project. So we're going to completely park the bug for now as far as work. It's running, driving great. We need to get this running and driving so I can at least drive it about 10 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so down the road to our new rental unit. So that's all we have for the bug for this video. We got a lot more to come. I will show you at least a little bit of us moving so you can see it driving over, kind of get a couple rips as we move the cars. But that's all we have for this video. So tune in. Very soon we're going to have a video of the truck hopefully running and driving with the steering column installed, brakes working, just everything kind of working in that new system there with all of our Crown Vic parts and whatnot. That's all we have. If you like what you saw, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe for more content, share with your friends. I hope to see you again soon.